Hello. Thank you so much for tuning in today. My name is Kara Goodwin, and I'm the host of the Soul Elevation podcast. If you've been on this journey with me, um, you will know that this is the first time that I'm saying I'm the host of the Soul Elevation podcast. I just flipped the switch yesterday. I released the final episode of Meditation Conversation. And so we are switched over to Soul Elevation. So it's very exciting for me. Um, Today I want to talk about the theory, the way of looking at life, um, in terms of Earth being a prison planet. And this is a pretty popular way of understanding life on Earth when you're in the awakening community, when you're in a community that's focused on ascension, that is waking up. And I have interviewed people on the podcast that have this perspective, and it can be a pretty contentious topic. So I want to offer my perspective, and there are a lot of perspectives out there, and people can be very passionate about this. So um, I, I appreciate everybody's viewpoints, and I know that people can be very, very passionate when they've accepted and taken on a certain narrative. But if you're willing to listen with an open heart and an open mind, then I'd love to offer my perspective. So there are many ways to look at this life experience. Um, I was first introduced to this topic by my mentor, Michael Massey, and I loved his perspective about it because, you can have people who are near-death experiencers, who are NDEers, who see the other side of the veil, and they come back and they tell us what their perspective is. And I remember when I was even a teenager and starting to hear about near-death experiences, which I've always found very, very compelling, some people would come back and they would say the earth is a school and an out-of-body experience, astral experience, gatekeepers experience what they see as tricksters who are trying to siphon, who are trying to trick people into coming again on earth and having another incarnation. And they see this like recycling of souls, that the energy of being incarnated on earth, you're supplying energy to something outside of yourself, and they equate this to being a prison planet because you could leave and have a much higher experience, or more pleasant experience that we can't even fathom what that would be like, because we're so entrenched in this experience. But from that perspective, it's like you can't get out because you are tricked into cycling back in. And every time you die, you're tricked again into coming and having this experience. And the whole point of that perspective is we don't want this experience. There is suffering here. Life is hard. We didn't want to do this, and we're trying to fight our way out of it. There's another theory, or another way. These are all metaphors. Another way of looking at it is that life is a game. And I have a very exciting episode coming up in 3 weeks. It's the third episode coming. Sorry, I forgot to put myself on Do Not Disturb. I have this exciting episode coming out with a guy named Franco Romero. And if you're not familiar with Franco, he's amazing. But he talks about this earth, this human existence being a game. And this is what I really resonate with. I resonate with all of them. I think there's validity. I don't feel that one particular way of looking at life is wrong. Another one is a dream. This life is a dream. And Franco and I talk about this too. We talk about the different perspectives and metaphors of what the purpose of life is. But yeah, another one is that this is a dream, and when we die, we awaken out of the dream. Or as you're in the dream, you can begin to awaken. You can have kind of a lucid human experience where you like understand that you're in a dream, but you're still participating in the dream. But I love this, seeing life as a game. versus a prison. And again, there are valid arguments for the prison thing. I'm not saying that there isn't this cycling going on. I'm not saying that there's not this, that there's, not ad- beings taking advantage of humans who are asleep. But if we look at things from a soul perspective, if we look at things from a higher self perspective, and you think about what it's like to play a game, let's talk about a video game. You have a character in a video game that you're playing and you're overcoming challenges, you're getting to different levels, you're accumulating information and intel to help you to get better and sharper and to experience more and to have more access to more levels of the game. And it could be that part of the game is that when you're at a certain level of the game, you could keep cycling through those lower levels. You can keep getting tricked, if you want to think of it that way, into continuing to play at the lower levels. But all along the way, you have access to clues, to gifts, to ways to help yourself get to the next level. And they're Easter eggs planted within the game that help you to figure out how to get to the next level. And so from a player's perspective, when you're outside of the game, but you're so in the game that it feels like you're in it, you you want that challenge. You're playing the game because you want to play the game. And the game itself is designed to get you to be able to move to the next level if you want to. Or maybe you really love the lower levels and you want to keep playing those at the as a player, not as the character, not as the avatar that's in the game, but as the player. So think of the player as the higher self, where the higher self has chosen to play the game and they're in the game and they are empowered. They have autonomy. They've chosen to be in the game and they're that is a place of empowerment, and they know that within the higher self understands that within this game there are lots and lots of ways to move to the next level. The game is they're just buried everywhere, waiting to be discovered. So one thing to watch out for is if you have adopted this prison planet perspective, you may be following somebody like who has found a way out, and they're offering that way for everybody, where it's like, this is the way out. Take my class, learn this thing, buy my bioceuticals, buy my let me show you, but this is the way. And what I would say is that maybe that was the right way for them. Maybe that did help them to awaken. Alternatively, maybe they're taking advantage of people who are afraid. They're creating this fear and they're offering a solution. That's definitely a possibility that you want to have your eyes open to, that maybe they don't know what they're talking about, but they see an opportunity. So they're going to sell you things and distract you and maybe not actually help you get out. But if we want to assume that they have the best intentions, it could be that they found this way out. They found an Easter egg. If you know that term from how like things are planted in games or in shows, they found something and it helped them to remove the veils to a certain extent. Don't think that these people are necessarily have all the answers. Everybody who is in a human body has a limited perspective. They're still learning. Um, but it might not be that that's the right solution for you. That might not be if you want to go back to the school analogy, that might not be the lesson that you came to learn that's going to unlock you to the next level. That not might not be what you need to master that's going to help you to understand things in a way that's going to get you to the next level. Um, so bear that in mind. We're all on these unique journeys. And what I have found is the more I align myself with my higher self, so the more for me, it's meditation. Meditation has been a huge, huge gateway to help me to align with my higher self and honestly, to help me bring God into my life. Now, I know God is a very charged word for a lot of people, and I don't mean it with any dogma or any religious context. I just mean this intelligence, this grand intelligence that's beyond even my higher self, but that is benevolent and loving and has it and is just unfathomably brilliant. And aligning myself with that intelligence and with my own higher self, I have found meditation to be for me the most potent way for me to get that alignment within myself. And that has helped me to navigate my life in a way that I can keep getting what I need when I need it. And so it's not that I have, there's not one silver bullet, let's say, where I feel like I know all the answers, let's say, where like if I do this um, practice, if I take this supplement or something, I'm just kind of pulling things out of the air here, so bear with me. But then I'm enlightened and I know everything that there is to know. It doesn't work like that for me anyway. But the more that over the years that I've been dedicated to aligning myself with my higher self, with my highest path, intentionally every day, setting the intention that I'm on my highest timeline and that God use me in the highest way, then I get what I need when I need it. So let me give you an example of this. A couple of nights ago, I've been reading this specific book for weeks now. It just kind of in and out, and I like what I'm reading, but I also it gets kind of a little bit fanatical, and the author kind of comes across a little bit of as a zealot from time to time. So it's kind of made me not want to like devour the book. And I'd actually set it aside because I've just been super, super busy. But 2 nights ago, before I went to bed, I was like, "I'm just gonna read this book for, like, 10 minutes." And I'm reading it, and it's not really, like, resonating with me until all of a sudden it just dropped in, and I went from, like, maybe, I don't know about this," to, like, "Oh my god, this is critical. This is, like, I can completely see in this moment why I needed to read this." A concept I'd never been exposed to before about, covenants with death and how this can be like generational and again, just reading it and like, whatever, take it or leave it, maybe not really resonating to like suddenly it was as though like my shoulders were grabbed and all of a sudden I understood several things all at once and I was like, oh, this is critical. And so I stopped what I was doing and I kind of did a little just within my own mind, like, did a little prayer, invocation, decree, command, that's the best way, a command to remove any of these covenants that I had unknowingly participated in, or that my ancestors had been, and to clear my line, the past generations and future generations. But the interesting thing and I felt it. Like, as I did it, it was just phenomenal how I felt the energetic change instantly. And it was like, "Whoa, how long has that been there? How long has that needed to be cleared away?" It was a thing I didn't even know was a thing. But taking that even further, so I was inspired to just pick up where I'd left off in this book that I'd been picking up and putting down. The next morning, I meet a friend who's going through a hard time. And as she's talking to me, she keeps making little references that keep bringing this remembrance of what I had just read about these covenants with death. And at the end of the conversation, I'm like, I'm just going to throw this out there. I don't know if it's going to resonate with you because, like, 12 hours ago, this meant nothing to me. And then I just had a really powerful experience with it before I went to bed. And it really feels aligned. And not only did she understand what I was saying, she already had some exposure throughout her life with what I'd been talking about. But she was like, "Oh my god, I hadn't thought about the relevance of that." Like, her conscious awareness had not brought in that element to what she's going through and how she needs to clear this as part of what she's going through. And it's so specific. People are not talking, I mean, not in my world, people don't talk about this. So that's just what I mean, where it's like the more dedicated I have been to aligning myself with my higher self, aligning myself with God, being intentional that I invite God's light in. I command God to fill every cell of my being. And I do this every day, at least once a day, usually more than once a day. But it's that deliberate dedication and how your life then configures itself so that you are guided effortlessly to have the tools that you need to have more of that, to have that empowerment. And that's really what we need if we want to think of things in terms of a prison planet. What do we need to free ourselves from a prison planet? We need to be empowered, and that's not going to come from outside of you. No one is going to empower you. You have to do that for yourself. No one can give you the keys to get yourself out. I mean, they can give you keys to help you find your way out. The universe has these everywhere. And again, for some people, it's going to be breath work. For some people, it's going to be, cleaning up their physical environment is going to be a huge part of that. For some people, it might be an ayahuasca experience that's going to help to get them out. Or open them up, to awaken them, to empower them. But ultimately, but that none of those things are across the board. Everybody needs them. It's your unique, brilliant design at the higher self level for what you have come to experience and overcome that's going to help you to just get to that next level. So if you think of it rather than prison planet, which makes it feel very that feels hopeless to me. That feels like the deck is stacked against me when I think of a prison planet. Like, oh, I'm stuck here and there's nothing I can do about it. But God is here, God in your higher self, and the whole universe can conspire and be configured around you to help you to get to the next level, which frees you. That is the liberation, and it comes from within you. So I hope that that makes sense. And I think it's a really fascinating topic. And the more that we can open ourselves up to considering it from a lot of different angles, and especially considering it from that higher self perspective, where, we came here and we did have a choice. We knew our higher self has its eyes open. Our higher self is not getting tricked into anything. So, but it may be that this game, I believe this game is lifetimes long and it's being played in multiple dimensions and on many timelines. It's very complex, brilliant. And it may be that, it takes us lifetimes to be able to come out of the cycle, but that's part of the game, to get out of these lower levels of the game. But that is what we came to experience. And at any given point, we can acquire the skills, the knowledge, and open up our gifts to be able to move to the next level. So I wish you every blessing. And thank you so much for joining me today. And I'll see you next time.